Hello and welcome once more to Conscious TV. My name is Iain McNay and today my guest is Ocke de Boer, who's come over from Holland to talk to us about his book, Higher Being Bodies, which was sent in to us and I had a look through. And it's based around the work of Gurdjieff, and I thought, we haven't really got anything on Gurdjieff on Conscious TV. And I spoke to Ocke on Skype and we had a reasonable connection. I thought, good, we'll go for that and we'll see where the interview takes us. So, Ocke, you sent me some notes and it seems that early on when you were young, you heard a song by Kevin Ayers, Why Are We Sleeping? And that song really affected you.
Yes, the whole album. The album was called Confessions of Dr. Dream. And that was really an album that really affected me. Yeah, that's true. The lyrics, but also the music. And yeah.
But why did it affect you?
Because, well, Why Are We Sleeping is really, yeah, that affected me. It was before I read Gurdjieff actually, but it made sense to me that we were just asleep. And
how old were you at the time?
Well, I think that album was in 1974, and I got it from my brother, all the music. My brother was 5 years older than I am, still is, and he got all the music always, you know, King Crimson, Soft Machine, all that kind of. That was those.
But you were a teenager, were you?
I was really a teenager, yes.
So when you were a teenager, you were already aware that you and your fellow mankind was asleep?
Yes, that didn't surprise me at all.
But how did you know that?
That's a good question, I don't know.
But you must have had a feeling that
yes,
things didn't quite add up.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, when you are at that age, you start asking questions, right? What am I doing here? Why am I here? I think that a lot of people my age had that, but I had maybe a little bit more.
Most people that age are drinking and chasing girls.
I did that.
And going to football.
I did
that as well, did you?
I did that. But I also read philosophy at an early age.
Yeah.
Schopenhauer, I read stuff. And I had two small books. The history of philosophy from Joachim Sturich, which they were from my father, but I read out of those books. So I was really interested in life, in the fact that we are on a planet, you know, that goes with a big speed. We go through the universe and we're all on it, and we don't ponder that a lot. You know, and that's, to me, very interesting. And I don't know if I had that thought exactly those days, but I was very interested in the why of things.
And was that something did you have other friends that had a similar thought, or were you on your own with this?
I was on my own with it. I did not. Yeah. I had friends, and you know, I grew up in the Protestant church, and I had a very good friend. He died a couple of years ago, and he was. We would talk a little bit about it, because we would go to church together. But yeah.
So when you were 16, you became a sailor?
Well, 17. I was 17.
Okay.
I did, and that was a little because of the family circumstances. My mother died when I was 15, 16. And school was not much for me. I was a complete failure at school. So, and I started working. And, well, you know, did that for quite a while. And then I went back to school. And later I got a diploma from working with children. So I worked with I worked in a youth prison for quite a while. I did that for quite a while.
How was that?
That was very intense, and I really liked it. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of hours. You made a lot of hours. But that was okay, and it was intense because it was real.
And why did you feel it was real?
Because the problems of those kids and what was going on, that was just the real stuff. I understood that. You know, a lot of lives don't go normal. You know, you grow up with the fact and you think that if I do my best at school, you know, and I will get an interesting job, nice wife or whatever, and you will be fine, you know. But I heard an asylum seeker said once, when the Yugoslavia war was going on in the 90s, that he was worried about the fact if he could go on vacation every year, but when the war was really going on and his whole life was upside down, he understood that life was what was happening to him, what he hasn't planned. And I thought that is really, really true. You know, we all have our expectations from life, but the way it goes is always different. We have not much to say. You know, we can maybe make a sandwich every day, but we have not. I think we do not have an enormous lot of influence on what is happening with our lives.
So it seems like you were attracted by people whose lives were not going smoothly, and you were attracted by more depth.
Yes.
Because there was something in you that wanted to know.
Yes. Yes, you can say it like that. Yeah. I had that with music. I had that with jobs. Yeah. I was not particularly interested in making a big career. It was I wanted to know things. I wanted to know. To hunt. We have brains for hunting.
Okay.
And we also hunt for knowledge.
And then you find the writings of Ouspensky, is that right?
Yes, I was a sort of there was a sort of a club of, there was older men actually, older than I am, and they had a sort of a philosophical club, and I was with those guys. You know, we would drink and we would talk about philosophy, and one of those people they brought In Search of the Miraculous and The Fourth Way. And I started reading The Fourth Way In Search of Miraculous from Ouspensky, and that was it. That was for me the opening of a way. That was, I thought, this is completely to the point. So I was very astonished that they moved on to other philosophers. They read it and then they moved on. So, and it never let go of me, because I thought that was such an amazingly good material substance, substantial material, that it was real. I sensed something real and something true.
So how did that affect your life when you read Ouspensky?
Well, that it became almost number one in my life.
Yeah, but what was it about him? What was it that he said?
No, I think it was not only Ouspensky, because it was more Gurdjieff and Gurdjieff's Tales, the book All and Everything, and that whole that was something I really wanted to know about. So I started to read the Tales, but I also read other esoteric books. I also read Alice Bailey, but something always took me back to Gurdjieff. So I started collecting material and started to fantasize that it might be interesting to meet people who were also interested in that.
Yeah, but how did it affect you?
It affected me a lot, because
I know it did, but how? In what way?
In what way? Well, I wanted to do that work, because I felt completely that I was not finished.
Yeah, be careful not to touch the microphone. Yeah.
That I was not finished. That this was what life should be about. That this was the real thing. That this was that's what the effect was on me. That I had to go after it. That I had to start doing it. To talk about it. To interact with people about it. That was it. I also had 6 months or a year that I put it away. I was not that fanatic, but it was really important for me. So that was a big effect.
And what were the particular teachings that you were drawn to?
Well, a lot of people thought that I talked about it, thought it was a sort of sad message, you know, that we are sort of mechanical, living in automatic energy, and that we are. And I thought that was not sad at all. I thought that was completely, if you looked around you, that was a little bit to the point. So, I started traveling. I went to Africa, and for a lot of months that's how I met my wife. And but even there I talked about it, so it was an influence on me, but not a sad influence. I was happy with it, you see.
But you know, you're not really answering my questions. How did it change you? What impacted you?
How did it change me?
Yeah.
Did it change me? Yeah, I think it changed me. Yeah. How did it? Yeah, I think it changed me. Yeah. I think it made me milder, less violent. It made me question myself, my features, my characteristics.
Yes, so it made you kind of question your characteristics.
Yes.
So, and so you started to see what you were not. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I started to really see that I could not remember myself, and that we all cannot remember ourselves.
And what does that mean? Remember yourself.
Well, you know, that's without getting too technical, but I think it's really important, is that we are sort of glued through reality, the three-dimensional reality that we live in, through our senses, but not through our consciousness. So if we go back, say, 24 hours in our memory, then we will see that we cannot remember everything. We only remember those moments that there was enough consciousness substance, sort of electricity put in us that really made an imprint, that the impressions really made an imprint on us. So I started to look for ways, how can I remember myself? What can I do? And I started reading and collecting material about that.
So I'm trying to get clear. When you say remember yourself,
Yes.
Be more precise what that means, remember yourself. So at the moment you said, well, it's like going back and remembering what you did. But it's more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is remembering that you don't have enough consciousness, that's not there. That's what it is. It is to remember that you are mechanical in most of the time, living in automatic energy.
So what you're saying is, as human beings, we're just doing things in an automatic way. We're not doing things in a conscious way.
Yes.
And are you being automatic now, or are you being conscious now?
I try to sense my body and try to be as conscious as the moment and me allows me.
Okay. And how does that make you? How does that make you different from when you're automatic?
Well, when you're automatic, you just let go. You just go with the flow.
Isn't that more relaxing to go with the flow?
No.
Go on.
And finally, that's not more relaxing to go with the flow, because it's the easiest way to go. That's you see, and our work is a struggle for consciousness, for more consciousness. Consciousness has a lot to do with what we think, and with what we feel, and how we move, and so let me give you an example. When you are sleeping in your bed and you have a dream, and you go to the toilet, and you come back, and you cannot get your dream anymore. You
can sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah.
You see, this is also, we do not control our consciousness. We think we have free will, we think we have individuality, we think we have an I, we think we have control over our brains, And it's actually the other way around. Our brains control us. And this is something that you can verify for yourself if you start applying on your being ideas. And that for me were the ideas that Gurdjieff brought. So the two kinds of, philosophy is more the describing of ideas, and esotericism for me is to apply ideas on your being. And your being is a degree of your self-consciousness. Gurdjieff would call it your degree of objective reason, as he calls it in the Tales. And if you start applying an idea on yourself, such as self-remembering, or that you cannot remember yourself, you start doing that, you try intentionally in advance a couple of days to have appointments with yourself, sense your right hand, or sense your body, because it has a lot to do with sensing. It's very important. Then you will find out that it's very difficult. It's almost impossible to do. And this is really interesting, because that's not only true for you, but also for other people. So for me, that was very interesting. That was a change for me.
But what's the difference between self-remembering and, say, mindfulness or self-awareness? Is it the base of the same thing?
Well, I think self-remembering starts with self-awareness. And then, when you keep on trying it, it goes deeper and deeper. It has many layers. If you find one layer, almost the other one is there. So it has a never-ending deepness.
See, one of the things you talk about is you talk about coating.
Yes.
And you talk about we have basically 4 bodies: the physical body, the Kesdjan body?
Kesdjan body.
Kesdjan body.
The astral body.
Yeah, I have a mental body and a causal body.
Yes.
So just take us through that, how you see those teaching with those 4 different bodies.
First you say we have those bodies. That's not the case. We have them potentially.
Okay.
So it starts with the realization that for a lot of people, the physical body, they are the physical body, and they never think about anything else.
That's correct.
It starts with the realization that you have a body. That's quite a distinction, and that your body is a tool, and that we don't even ask ourselves why we are in a body.
So what you're saying is that we are not the body.
No.
Right.
If you really understand that, you get a distinction between I and it, that this is not you.
Yes.
And then the other bodies, what I'm talking about in my book, they are potential. They are there because everything is there. Everything is one. You cannot take anything away from oneness, nor can you add something to it. So you cannot say, those bodies are not there, but they are potentially there, and they can be coated.
Okay, so explain what you mean by coating.
Coating is that we take in 3 kinds of food. We take in our normal food, our hamburgers, or if you're vegetarian, you take in other food or whatever. And that keeps a sort of machine going. But Gurdjieff says, and not only Gurdjieff, that's not only his idea, but he was one that represented it and gave it a big, gave it a strong impact.
Yes.
That we have 2 kinds of other foods. Both the second kind of food is our air. We cannot do anything without air.
Yeah.
We even share the air. And the third kind of food is impressions. We also cannot do anything without impressions. There are always impressions, even when you're sleeping.
So what do you mean by impressions?
This, what we're doing right now, everything around you is an impression. This is an impression. Everything is an impression.
So the environment that affects us.
Yes. This whole 3-dimensional reality that has been created for us the whole organic film that is around the earth is a kind of food, kind of impressions.
Okay.
And if we remember ourselves, we consciously try to assimilate those three kinds of food. And then that has a lot to do with applying ideas. So the coding that I'm talking about in my book is either just happening, through all kinds of experiences in life, because everybody has experiences, everybody has a story, everybody's life is sort of a movie, a film, and that codes too. But we can also do it ourselves, and we can also try to do it more consciously, make an extra effort. So, or this coating just happens, then I call it lunar coating, because the moon has no light of itself, it just reflects the sun. Or we do solar coating, and that is when we really coat through our own efforts. And actually we try to initiate ourselves more and more and more in ideas that we apply on our being. So we were talking about self-remembering a little while ago. That is such a big and deep idea that if you think you get it, there's a next layer and a next layer. Same goes for an idea like self-observation, or many ideas that Gurdjieff brought.
So explain the different layers of the self-remembering.
That's very difficult, because then I would describe a strawberry to you without you being able to taste it. So that's something that you have to do yourself. You have to. You cannot give another man the layers of self-remembering. He has to initiate himself deeper and deeper into that idea, which is alive. Ideas are alive. That's also something I write in my book.
I'm getting a little bit lost here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, maybe it's my fault, I don't know.
Plato says that true knowledge is a form of remembering. And I agree with him.
Yeah, let me tell you how maybe where I've got to with certain things, and let's see if we can find a common ground in terms of communication and understanding. So, first of all, I remember actually Renata, my wife, reminded me earlier today that there's a lovely little story of Ouspensky, and I forget which book it is. He's saying, I really want to self-remember. And he goes out to buy a newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
And then 2 days later, he realised he forgot to self-remember. So it is hard when you start.
Yeah. That's in Search of the Miraculous.
Okay.
In St. Petersburg.
Yes, yeah. So for me, self-remembering would be to be self-aware. And when you talk about the human body as a machine, I would agree with you there. And it's very much about realising that, yes, we are not the body. We are something that, shall we say, infinite, that is not tied... Potentially, that is not tied to the human body. And as a human being, we do have a choice to either just go on and be like everybody else and follow everybody else's values and where the world takes you, or we have a choice to realise that there is a path that we can discover which takes us on a journey much more deep within. And that's why I was asking you earlier what effect this work had on you, because I know for myself what I've done has had an effect on me, and I see reality differently. I see other people different. I understand other people different, and I tend to very much see life differently. Well, most of the time, anyway. And so, self-remembering, the way I understand it, is very much being aware of what you do and just not automatically reacting to things and just doing something from a conscious point of view. Would you go along with that, generally?
Yes, but I completely agree with you. Okay. But that's the beginning.
Okay.
And it also is has a lot to do with the sensing of the body.
Okay.
And with developing more than a mental contact with your body, which is extremely important.
Okay, so what do you mean by sensing the body?
Sensing, I mean exactly that you try to sense where your hand is.
So it's being aware that my hand is on
there,
my knee. Yeah.
And you have, in our work, you have the morning exercises or the sittings, and they all start with sensing. You sense the whole body.
Yes.
Why is that so very important? The sensing of the body, to develop more than a mental contact with your body, because what you say is absolutely, I completely agree with you, but we also have a part in us that is called in our work the horse, and I don't want to make it very difficult for you, but that's a sort of combination of your feeling center and your moving center and your instinct that has a lot, that is dictating you during the day, that tells you when it's hungry or tells you when it is excited about things, and you know, it really goes its own way. It's a sort of a dominating factor almost.
This is like the more animal instincts.
Yes, that's a good word.
Okay.
That animal has to be taught and to be convinced that it is very good if he cooperates with you deciding to be more self-aware.
Okay.
So he needs to cooperate. He is, you know, or else you will only work, so to speak, with your mind. This happens a lot, you know. I know a lot of people that do that, and even in the Gurdjieff work. But the animal has to self-remember, and this is maybe.
But he doesn't want to most of the time. He doesn't want to most of the time. He wants to be an animal.
No, that's really true. That's really true. That has changed for me. If I come back to the beginning of what we talked about, because this is really going somewhere, is that has changed for me.
Yes.
I have a big animal, you know, and
you're a big guy.
Yeah. So I remember that very vividly when I was reading that, and that it was talking to my animal.
Yes.
You know, that's completely different. Yeah. Yeah, it's a sort of style. But when I was young, I was a broader Protestant, so I had to go to the church and also go to sort of a club that you talk to each other, and then finally you belong completely to the church. I don't know, catechisatie, it's called in Dutch. I don't know if you have it here probably too. Before you become really a member of the church.
Confirmation.
Yeah, sort of a confirmation thing. I couldn't find the word. And I was in a small club, and I was reading a novel from Hubert Lampo, a Belgian writer, and he has wrote a book called The Promise to Rachel, and that was about the Bible. And in the book he talks about Benjamin and Joseph and the whole story about that Joseph goes to Egypt. And in that book, Joseph is portrayed as a really political animal and really a bastard almost, you know. So I told that there, you know, and they were completely shocked because that was not the case, you know. And that's also something that changed in me through the Gurdjieff work, is that you should look first on all sides of a thing, you know, before you make any judgment. Because I went home that day and I never went there again. You know, because I thought, if this is enough for you, that's okay, but it's not enough for me. So that was something that was for me very interesting in this work to come. That you can, that's why I tell the story, that you can apply an idea on yourself in almost an impartial way. That the idea is almost bigger than you.
Why did Gurdjieff get people to do crazy things?
Because he wanted to shock them and get them out of their normal behavior. He had a big job to do. You know, he had no time. He had a very big thing to do. So that's I'm not here to defend him at all. You know, because I'm not him. But.
He used to have these dinner parties in Paris, and he'd invite rich people, and then he'd get them all drunk and serve dinner at 1 o'clock in the morning, and he did really crazy things.
Yes, but there are also other stories about that. I heard many stories from people that were there, that those evenings were very religious.
Okay.
That people were completely there trying to really work. So there are also always these stories about a person, you know, but that is not the only thing. You know, of course I know those stories too, and always have to laugh about them. But that also says something about me, because. You know, there was also something else going on. That was
for you, from what you know, would you say he was an enlightened master?
I would say he was very far on the road.
Yes. And I guess maybe because of his upbringing and the fact he was Russian origin, he liked to look at things from extremities. He got people to do extreme things.
No, I think he did. He knew most of the time what he was doing.
Yeah.
And he shocked people, and that can help, you know. If you want your animal to cooperate in your work, then a shock sometimes is very good.
Okay. I know there's so many stories, we won't go into all of them now, but
what?
There's so many stories. He used to get people to dig a trench, and they worked really hard, and they had to dig it within 2 days, and then he'd say, "Oh, fill it in again," and
yeah,
he just like he got people to do things that were meaningless in a way.
Yeah, well, no,
and that was to do with self-remembering. You feel
that was a school for the harmonious development of man. That was just a tool. That was
okay.
That was not important. So the people that were there, and they worked on themselves. So what they did there was not important.
Okay.
So that's. You know, I know all those stories too, but again, if you go deeper into this material, that will not be very important.
One of the things that I kind of found interesting, and I tried to do it a couple of times and found it really hard, was the movements. Because de Hartmann, he created the music, and there was these movements, which I think you tried and found quite hard as well, where one arm is doing something different from the other arm, and one leg different from the other leg.
Yeah.
And you have to be completely, in my words, present. In your words, self-remembering, I guess.
No, present. I agree with you.
Okay.
Self-remembering, that we talked about. We can talk about that for weeks.
Yeah.
And then still, that's something else. The only thing I really want to say about that, if you do not apply it on yourself, if you do not make it practical, you will not get initiated in that idea. It's a very big idea. The movements are extremely important. I know very good movements teacher. In fact, I have a very good movements teacher in the United States.
So just explain how the movements work. I've just given a very my interpretation, but how do they work and what is the purpose of the movements?
Well, that's also a very big question, but I want to tell about the movements. We have 3 brains, so to speak, 3 centers: an intellectual center, an emotional center, and a moving motor center.
Okay.
They are, through life and through habit, they are crystallized in a certain way. You know, you're different, you walk differently than I do, you move differently than I do. That has a lot to do also with what you think and what you feel. So how we are crystallized and how life made us, that has a lot to do with the law of 7. How life made us, that if we want to experience new things, personally, we have to make it differently, those centers with each other. That's not as, and the movements are great tools for that. Also, the movements are great tools for, you have to be completely present.
Absolutely.
You have to work on yourself. You have to work with other people, because if you think that you're better than the guy next to you, you know, you're already gone. The movement is already somewhere else. So difficult it is. And if you do that, those 2 things, if you make that effort with a group, you work on yourself and you work with other people, then the movement will be able to manifest itself through people. And then you do something, a friend of mine said that, and that made me I pondered that for years, then it does something for the cosmos. And that's really true, because through the movements, I understood what praying was. I never understood what praying was. You know, I grew up with praying, and I had to be like this in front of my bed and thank God for the day. But when I first did the movements in 1994 in New Mexico, there was a movement that had to do with praying, and my whole body was praying. So Gurdjieff brought these movements, and this is a great gift. This is really quite something. And the sittings also, but the movements are very special in that way. They, if you do that, you work on yourself, you work with other people, the movement gets manifested, very high special energy, almost nothing else.
But to start with, it's exhausting because the mental concentration required is so strong.
You have to really want it. You have to really go for it.
Yeah.
And it makes it so practical. Because if I tell you, hey, you are a machine, then maybe you think, well, you say that. Maybe it's not true. But if you start doing the movements, you will find out how automatic you are in your manifestations.
Yeah.
And you will also the movement is a lot of people talk about the Enneagram today, and they do psychological things with it. That's all right. I have nothing to say about it. But the Enneagram brings two major cosmic laws together. That's the law of 3 and the law of 7. The law of world creation, law of 3. Law of 7 is the world of law of world maintenance. It's how a process goes. In the movements, those laws are constantly coming back. In the multiplications, then you move on the Enneagram. So if you would see those people from above and you see them moving, you would see the Enneagram moving.
Really?
Yes.
I never knew that. Okay.
So the movement, yeah, but they are about the laws. So the Enneagram is about two laws, two major laws. This is what Gurdjieff brought in the tales, and that is of an astonishing beauty. But again, you have to work very hard to understand that. You don't understand that just like that. You have to really make a lot of effort. It takes years.
Yeah.
And it starts when you understand it a little bit with the mind, because mathematically it's also correct. And then when you do the movements, and you struggle with them, because I have very great difficulties with the movements. I'm a movements dyslexic, I always say. So it took me a lot of effort to do that. But they are such beautiful mirrors.
Yes.
So he brought a legacy. He brought so much. And everyone talks about those stories that you talk about, which is also fine. Yeah, but he brought so much, so big ideas. And the movements, he brought the movements. Yeah, it's good that you bring that up.
One line I pulled out of your book was that we're working to achieve the permanent witness.
Yes.
Now, what to you is the permanent witness?
Well, the permanent witness is the moment that you really feel that you are not only your body, then the permanent witness will be attracted and will come to you, and you will see yourself, and you will start to observe yourself, and you will sort of get an emotional contact with the fact that you are not observing yourself. The permanent witness comes when you learn to separate I from it. This is it, and then there's something very small, and that is I. And the permanent witness is negotiating, so to speak, a little bit. It doesn't come only from our work. I say it comes a lot from Egypt, because I say in the beginning of the book that everybody should read a few books before they read my book. And I start talking about Isjesvala de Lubitsch, which was a woman who wrote a book the opening of the way, and she talks about the permanent witness and even about the spiritual witness. So the permanent witness is the moment that you really start to work, and that it really becomes important for you, then the permanent witness will develop.
So what's the difference between the permanent witness and the spiritual witness?
The spiritual witness is even higher. That has a lot to do with real I. The spiritual witness can give messages to the permanent witness, but the permanent witness translated it for the machine, so to speak, so that you can understand it. Spiritual witness is even this thing, what I call it, is under many laws. Laws, I mean, I tell you about laws. There are laws that are fixed. You have to sleep, you have to eat, you have to breathe. Those are laws.
No, I know people that don't eat.
Yeah, but not for years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's unusual.
Yeah,
but
it's unusual. But you have to drink. You have to. I mean, okay, maybe, but you have to breathe. They cannot do without breathing.
Correct.
Yeah, they cannot do without sleeping. They can try.
There's people that can. No, I'm just trying to. No, go on. Sorry.
But so there are laws that are fixed, and there are laws that you can get rid of. You don't have to be negative all the time or grumpy. You can try to get rid of that. You don't have to smoke. You can try not to smoke if you really want to, you know. So those are different. Now, why I tell that is that this body is under many laws, the permanent witness is under fewer laws, and the spiritual witness is even more under fewer laws. It has a lot to do with the soul.
So I would say maybe your laws is actually conditioning.
Yes.
So we're talking about conditioning here.
Yes. Yeah. Conditionings with an S.
Yeah. Okay. And where are you with this? Are you in the permanent witness a lot of the time?
That's a very personal question.
Yeah, I like asking personal questions. But as the permanent witness means there's no person. It's not really a personal question, is it?
Yes, I'm getting there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're able to observe the machine?
Yes.
You're able to be aware of your conditioning?
Say that my confrontation with this work when I was younger was also a confrontation with my permanent witness.
Yes.
And so also a little bit with conscience, which is a big thing, also a big idea.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting with conscious TV because one of the things...
Conscience. Conscious TV, okay.
Yeah, I'd say it's interesting with conscious TV because what Renata and I try to do is we try and, you know, we look where we're drawn and where we're interested, and we try and have a broad spectrum of how people can wake up or see reality in different ways. And with your book, I found your book hard work to read, to be honest. It's unfamiliar in the way it approaches things. But in a way, I found that even more attractive to invite you because I thought, well, here's something that I don't quite get. So maybe I can learn something by having you here. But it does seem, in a way, we're all climbing the mountain in a different way, and we're all possibly, all the different traditions and different ways of waking up. It is all about being, and there's different names. The absolute reality is probably the one I connect with most. You're talking, I think, about spiritual witness being one of maybe the same as the absolute. We're all realizing ultimately who we are, and we do that primarily through realizing who we're not.
Yes.
And then you call it the machine, I would call it the body, and it's a question of realizing the conditioning and the disidentification and the letting go. It's all somehow the same game, isn't it?
I call it the automaton. Yes.
We call it the ultimate?
Automaton in my book, the automaton.
The automaton, yeah. Okay.
You're right, completely. But I also have a wish for you in that respect.
Yeah.
Because it's very good to get a sort of a general education about many. I did that too. I went to a yoga school when I was in my 20s, and I'm very happy with, I have to thank that guy who was giving me the yoga teaching. His name is Hans Wesseling. He's dead now. And I have to thank him, so I do it here. So he was very keen on the fact that you should have a sort of a general education on all the systems, on all the on esotericism. So he made you read the Tao Te Ching, the stanzas of Kesdjan, you know, a lot of, and I'm very grateful to him that he did that. I'm also very grateful for him because he introduced me to very good jazz, which was the next step for me in music.
Okay.
To John Coltrane and to Lou Donaldson, and so it's very, very good to do that. But there will come a point that you go for, that you say okay, now I'm going to do that, and because it will really take me further, and then one system will become more to the point for you. That's what happened with me. You see, that was this system. But I also talk a lot in my book about other systems, because Gurdjieff's ideas are very clear also to be found in Buddhism and Hinduism. It's not only because he didn't have all these ideas from himself.
Yes.
So so you're right. It's all about the same thing, but if you progress in it, then you come to a point that you get a sort of an emotional contact with, oh, you think, okay, I'll go that way. And then the other ways are still there, but that's then the way.
Well, we go where we're drawn, don't we?
Yeah.
What connects with us, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm looking at the clock. We haven't got so much time left, and I've still only barely scratched my notes here. One thing I pulled out, which is you talk about yourself in the book, if I wish to go higher, I have to go through where I am right now.
Yes.
So what does that mean practically?
Practically, well, let's take this present moment. If we want to go higher, we have to go through where we are now. The present moment has way more possibilities than we think. And if we are asleep to the present moment, we don't use the present moment at all. The present moment is where horizontal time and eternity come together.
So describe how you are in this moment.
Well, I am in this moment. I try to sense my body. I try to talk to you. And I try to really get to a point, to really make my book clear. And I also want to hear from you. So, but the present moment it's like this. I am here, you are here, but there's also something higher. It's a possibility. And I think that we should always try to be, if we really combine our intelligences and really combine our beings, we can get in touch with that higher thing.
So when you say you are here, there's also the permanent witness here.
Oh yeah.
And is that the I that you talk about?
Well, in our body, if the Kesdjan body gets coated, then the Kesdjan body is the I for the automaton. Permanent witness is not completely, it's an intermediate stage.
Okay. So it's
and you cannot,
spiritual witness.
Yes, you cannot work the whole day. You know, you have to let go sometimes too. So, but the present moment is really interesting because it has many possibilities that we don't use. So.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to be in the present moment with you.
Okay.
But I'm sneaking at my notes here to go to the next moment with a new question. Everything in the universe vibrates at a certain level.
Yes. Plants, animals. You see, that's a big idea. We belong to organic life, our bodies do. Animals do too, plants do too. So there's a whole organic film around the earth which vibrates and which has a function. And that's one of the things that are of great interest for me when I was younger. We presume that a pig has a function, we eat it. A cow has a function, you know. But we do not ponder our own function. What is our cosmic function? You know, that's really an interesting question in relation to vibrations. Because everything vibrates, all the energy. We are actually energy, you know.
Yes.
So that all vibrates on a certain level, even with people. I mean, we think that we like or dislike each other psychologically, but there's also a lot going on chemically and between people, between types that belong to each other or not, and also on vibration level. So I think that's very interesting.
Okay. And also you say that sittings, meditation is very important.
Sittings are the sittings that, that's one big point in my book. Gurdjieff called it exercises, Jane Heap called it sittings. Madame de Salzman, who wrote an excellent book called Reality of Being. And she describes exercises that you got from Gurdjieff. I call them sittings too because I'm used to the word sitting. And I collected those sittings from Gurdjieff because they are just as powerful and beautiful. There's almost no words for it as the movements. So they belong to the same high level for me. And I do that because when I was younger, I wrote a 10-week course, a meditation course, but also with all sort of work ideas I put in it, so that people, and with all kind of exercises, so that, you know, that if you would do that course with 5 people, so to speak, and you do the exercise, all 5 of you, then the next week that you come together, you have really something to talk about. Your experiences can really be exchanged because you've done the same thing. And after 10 weeks, you really know a little bit how to sit. I did it 30 weeks in the beginning. I gave that course many times. And that is, I call that a meditation course. And it really, I think it is. And that was for me here. And then when I got in touch with the exercises from Gurdjieff, they were a level higher. I could sense that immediately. And they have a lot to do with sensing and also with being present in your lower center, your hara, as they call it in Japan.
Yes.
And it has a lot to do with the energy above your head.
Yes.
And so sittings are, for me, very important.
Yes.
And I think they have also the side effect that your animal really gets convinced that it should cooperate in working. Because if you do those sittings, it's like those sittings are a magnet, you are a needle, and if you do them daily, you need a sort of discipline. And then slowly you make the needle magnetic itself. So they are very important.
Yeah, you know, the mind gets called the monkey, doesn't it? The monkey mind. It's like you have to tame your monkey mind, you have to tame your animal, you have to find concentration, otherwise
yes.
In a sitting when you meditate you're all over the place.
Yes.
Till you find that concentration.
Yes.
And
yes, I talk about, in my book, about the collected state from Gurdjieff, which
yes.
is the basis for all the exercises. And that's really, yes, that's in my book.
Yes, good. Well, we pretty much need to finish. Our allotted time has come to an end. I hope I've done you justice in the interview. You know,
what?
I hope I've done you justice.
Why you say that?
Because you've written this book that I found quite hard to read.
Yeah.
And we've been a bit all over the place, but hopefully
yes.
certain people will be interested and they will buy your book.
Well,
yeah.
if they don't have to. But I say in the beginning of the book that you should first read other books.
Yes.
And if you read those other books, you will.
And I didn't do my homework.
No.
My fault.
Yeah. Well, you can still do that because
yeah.
the 5 books from Maurice Nicoll, the psychological commentaries on Gurdjieff and Ouspensky,
yeah.
they are a masterpiece.
Yeah. The book I enjoyed the most on Gurdjieff was the one by Colin Wilson.
Oh yeah.
I thought it's quite a thin book. I think anyone that is a beginner, if you like, because he's an intriguing character, Gurdjieff. He really is. I enjoyed that. He died quite recently, Colin Wilson.
Yes, I heard that, yes.
And the other one that I read many years ago was Our Life with Mr. Gurdjieff
yes,
by De Hartmans.
By De Hartmans.
Yeah, and it was, what's the name of the guy who wrote the music, his Christian name?
Ocke de Boer was the woman and he was, I forgot his name.
Anyway, it was more his story than her story. But
yes.
I thought that was really interesting because he did make it tough, Gurdjieff, and there was the situation where the Second World War had started, and he said to De Hartman, "It's really important you come and see me," and he had to go right through the war zone, and then when he got there, he just sent him back again. So Gurdjieff did these extreme things, and
yes.
he is
Thomas de Hartman.
Thomas, that's right, Thomas, and but he's an intriguing character, and I think there's so much of what is common in spiritual schools now has come out of the Gurdjieff work. I think there's a lot of things, you know, the Enneagram, the sensing.
Yes, but it's still, because what you say, and forgive me because I have to say that, is that you wrote, you read books about Gurdjieff,
Yes,
about the man, but it's very good also to read what the ideas that he brought.
Yeah, I tried to read the one that you champion. Is it Tales from Beelzebub?
The All and Everything.
No, the Beelzebub one.
Yeah, the Beelzebub Tales to his
It's
grandson.
unreadable for me.
Yeah, but I disagree with you.
No, I know you do. It's one of your favourite books.
No, because that's a book that asks for a certain. If you read it, you almost have to be in a certain kind of self-remembering.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult, but there are ideas in it. There are jewels in there.
I think there are, and I think the jewels are well hidden.
Yes,
I look at the clock. We need to finish, but
that's true.
Okay, I really appreciate you coming over from Holland to talk to us on Conscious TV.
Okay.
Good luck with your book. Here's the book, and I hope to see you again soon on Conscious TV. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye.